Hello everybody, my name is Alain, and in this video I'm going to be talking about one of the many useful features that came with ES6 version of JavaScript, and that is arrow functions or arrow function expressions in full. So we're going to start by looking at function prior to ES6, and then we'll talk about arrow functions which were introduced in ES6, and finally we'll talk about one of the most common use cases of arrow functions. So let's get started. So prior to ES6, the way you would normally declare a function is you have a function keyword. Let's say I want a function called add, which takes in two parameters num1 and num2, and I want this function to give me the sum of these two numbers. So you would return num1 plus num2. As simple as that. So to call or invoke this function, you will do something like console.log, and then you invoke the function, you pass in the arguments, let's say 5 and 7. So if we run the program, we expect 12 and we get 12. Now this is a regular function. Now let's try to convert this function into an arrow function. So I'll do const, give it a name, and then add the parameters num1 and num2, and then with the help of the arrow I could simply return num1 plus num2, and to comment this out, and then to invoke this arrow function is the same as before. I'll do console.log and then call the name and pass in the arguments 5 and 7. So if I try to run the program again, I get 12. How cool is this? So you could do some refactoring. Because you are returning only one line, you could even remove the curly braces like so and remove the return keyword, and this arrow will simply mean that you are returning num1 plus num2, which is 12. So this is how you deal with or you work with arrow functions. Now, talking about one of the most common use cases of arrow functions is when you have callbacks. So reminding ourselves what a callback is, a callback is simply a function passed as an argument into another function. Now to illustrate this point, let me comment this out, and let's say we have an array of students. Const students, the first student is going to be Tom, the second student is going to be Jane, the third student is going to be, let's say, Clark, for instance. If I log these students to the console, I expect to get the array of students, which I do, Tom, Jane, Clark. Now, imagine you wanted to map through this students array, and for each student, you want to add another thing to that name. Let's say we want to do Tom is a student, Jane is a student, Clark is a student. So using regular functions, you could do something like students.map, and then inside here you have a callback which accepts student, and then inside this callback you simply log console.log this student to the console. So when you run the program, you expect student Tom, Jane, Clark, and you wanted to add a new string. So is a student. So you get Tom is a student, Jane is a student, Clark is a student. Now this is the regular function. Let's try to turn this regular function into an arrow function. So you could do something like students.map, and then this is the argument. You will simply pass that as an argument, and then you return in one line. Because we are dealing with only one line, you could do using this syntax, you could we want to interpolate the student name, so with $sign and then the student, and then you add is a student. And this, let me comment this out, this should give you the same as this one. Now, because I need to console log this to the console, I'll do something like, yep. So this should console student is a student, and it's gonna replace this student variable with the actual student. So it's gonna be Tom or Jane or Clark. So let's run, and it's the same output. So as you can see, when you try to compare this one, what we have here and what we have here, you'd see that there is a bit of a difference in a way that the code is much shorter and much cleaner. So that is how you can work with arrow functions when we're dealing with callbacks. Now, so this was just a brief introduction to ES6 arrow functions, and if you want to learn more, definitely check out MDN documentation. So thank you for watching and have a good day.